So when I was about 7, maybe 8 years old, I started to take a rather profound interest in music. Music sort of became my main interest, and from there on, I would always only want more music for birthdays and Christmases. It was really easy, I guess, for my family to just find gifts because music was really all I wanted. And then later on, when I became older, became a teenager, I got work after school and on weekends, and I would make my own money, and it would all go into music, whether it being hi-fi equipment or records. And records back then was obviously vinyl records. That was all we had, and so it was just records. And then eventually, late 80s, early 90s, I think mid 80s, really, I sort of started with CDs, and CDs were easier. Still had that same kind of ritual of opening the sleeve and or the cassette or and taking it out and putting it into the player. Still had that same nostalgia around it, the same ritual that vinyl records had. Um, Eventually, though, the whole managing of my music library, um, I got the notion that it sort of got tedious, and it just, the records, the vinyl records, they could get scratched, and it was just, too much daily maintenance and care. Um, so I jumped on that MP3 wagon and ripped all my personal CDs onto MP3 files, kept them on a hard drive for a while, and then uploaded. When that became a thing, I could upload them to the cloud, where they are till this day. And nowadays, really, most of my music listening has turned into something just going on in the background, controlled by an app on my phone or tablet. And music in general has become, instead of being what was previously, I guess, considered an art form, uh, craftsmanship, really, now is just something happening in the background on social media. And, well, in general, it's just social media content, which is a shame, really. So, about a year ago, my son, who's now 15, came home and asked if we could have a record player. Like, I haven't had a record player for 30 years, and I didn't, never thought I would miss it. But as we started talking, and he explained his reasons why he would really like to get a record player, I thought, maybe I could enjoy this process too. My son is into hip hop and rap music, and those vinyl records are extremely expensive. Some of them are, and because they're rare. And he's obviously into the old school rap and hip hop, so early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So that doesn't make it cheaper. So whenever we go hunting for vinyl records, I can come out with a whole stack for 50 euros, and Anton, my son, he will have one, maybe two at best. So I just wanted to come on here in this video and recognize the fact that vinyl records, the art of listening to vinyl records is just, it's just something that has, sort of returned for me. I'm not gonna enjoy listening to Miles Davis kind of blue or any Led Zeppelin record just because it's on vinyl. My basic music taste has not changed. It's 80s music, and it's the music I grew up listening to, 70s, 80s, 90s. And thankfully, I've realized that my taste in music is rather cheap. So, having said that, I can get out with a whole stack of vinyls for the same amount of money as my son can get one or two records. I just wanted to recognize that the ritual of listening to music in a more careful way, in a more conscious way, is something that we could all benefit from. Really, if you have ever been into music, try to sit down and listen to an entire album. I've got a couple of things here. I mean, this one, for instance, I hadn't listened to for many years. This is Bryan Adams' "Cuts Like a Knife." I would usually just in my app, I would maybe listen to "Cuts Like a Knife," the title song, and then move on to other Bryan Adams essential songs. Another one I really thought I'd never listen to again, but really enjoy listening to Asia's debut album from '82. Really a great. The whole album is great, and these songs kind of remind me of I was 10 when this album came out, and this whole album just brings me back to my childhood room where I would have my stereo back in my parents' house, just taking out these slices of history and reading the liner notes, reading the lyrics. It's just really great. What else do we have here? We have, obviously, well, you can get the Beatles. I wasn't really into the Beatles back then. I appreciate them much more now than I did in my youth. And this blue, there's a red and the blue. I only have the blue. They can cost you a lot of money depending on their condition. This one is in a fairly good condition. Yeah, I enjoy that. It has been reprinted on blue vinyl as well, so I don't really care for that. I'm not that type of collector. Yeah, so what else do we have? This one is I'm taking this in my box here alphabetically. This one, The Cars. The obvious hit Drive, and also the hit You Might Think, that has been featured in many films. This is a good album as well. I had it on CD back then, but and then on MP3 for years. Haven't been listening to it for years, but now I enjoy it again. This is cool. Let me see what else we have. This is a new one I bought. Phil Collins's greatest hits, because I wanted, the obvious hit singles, and this one, I don't think it has been out for that many years on vinyl, but it has all the hits, so that was a no-brainer for me, really. Dire Straits debut album. This is in. You have to be careful when you go hunting for vinyl. This is not in a very good condition. Obviously, I need to. I didn't pay more than like 5, 6, 7 euros for it, and the reason for that, obviously, I realized when I got home, the condition of the vinyl record was not very good. But so I'll see if I can find one in a better condition. My all-time favorite Dire Straits album is Love Over Gold. And this one I paid, I don't know, maybe 20 euros. And it's not in a perfect condition, but in a fairly good condition. It's listenable. It's a very quiet album, so you can understand if there are too many scratches, it's just not an enjoyable experience. But this is okay. This is okay. Electric Light Orchestra, great album. Had that when I was younger on both vinyl and then later on CD and now vinyl again. I'm sort of buying the same albums as I had back then. I sold all my vinyls after maybe collecting for 10, 15 years, and I sold them for ridiculously less a low amount of money, and I regret that tremendously now. But well, that's how it was back then. Couple of recent Brian Ferry's Boys and Girls, great album, great album. I enjoy Brian Adams, obviously, Brian Ferry, and Roxy Music. I have Roxy Music albums coming on later. This is a good album, Boys and Girls from '85. Instead of buying expensive Fleetwood Mac vintage records, I just bought this one. This is just a greatest hits album, and on this one there's my all-time favorite. Fleetwood Mac song. It's called As Long As You Follow. It's only available on this album, and so that was my obvious choice. An album I didn't have back then, but really enjoy listening to now is Frankie Goes to Hollywood. This is produced by Trevor Horn, and this is something that Frankie Goes to Hollywood was never really copied back then because they were so unique. And whatever you would do, I guess, as a songwriter and musician and composer, whatever you did to try to just get near this style would just sound like a cheap replica, wouldn't it? So Welcome to the Pleasure Dome from 84, 85, 84, I want to say. Great album, and it sounds great to this day. Really, it does. And having said that, by the way, I'm not into vinyl records just because they have a particular softer sound. I know people say they sound better than digital files. I have a Sonos system in the house. I can't really tell whether or not that's true. I'm in this for the nostalgia of, the whole ritual of listening to vinyl. It's not about the sound for me. I'm still into Supertramp, and obviously Supertramp without Roger Hudson is not Supertramp to me. So Roger Hudson was the main composer songwriter in Supertramp for me. So this is a great album, his debut album, solo debut from '84. Don't miss out on that. This one I bought for my wife, but I enjoy listening to it as well. In Excess, great album, one of the '80s classics. What else do we have? We have Keane. This is a more modern music. I don't modern. Can you even say that? It's just a more recent release, originally released in 2004. On vinyl a little later, I guess, because in the early 2000s they didn't really release albums on vinyl. So this one is probably made later on. What does it say? 2018. Yeah, all right, there you go. Great album. Keane are, to this day, probably my favorite band. And yeah, this is a must-have for me. I'm going to collect more of those. Paul McCartney, well, there you go. I find these old Paul McCartney albums for cheap money, and I buy them because they're always worth a listen. Paul was my favorite Beatle, so here's another one. Great album. The movie has been criticized a lot over the years. I enjoy it. It's just the movie is just one great long music video, really. Christine McVie, a rarity, really. I don't see it very often. One of the key members, founding members of was he a founding member? I don't know. Of Fleetwood Mac. She's from Fleetwood Mac, nevertheless. Yeah, and then a couple of obvious vinyl collector's items. This one, it's not, anything with the poster and special pressing and stuff. This is just an old vintage. I paid €10 for this one, so it's and this one is a recent buy. This is a 180 gram version, recent pressing of The Wall. I bought this, just to be able to play it and listen to it with my son. I want to give him a couple of the vinyl or music experiences that I had. So yeah, there you go, The Wall. And another recent pressing, I guess this is Queen's Greatest Hits #2, with all the 80s, the biggest 80s hits from like early 80s, 80, 83, 84, like Radio Gaga, I Want to Break Free, Kind of Magic, all these things. These are my favorite Queen songs. I know a song like Bohemian Rhapsody is not on here. It's not one of my favorite Queen songs anyway, so I'm just an 80s guy. And Bohemian Rhapsody, I think, was released in the 70s. This one I would listen to over and over again. This is a maxi version of I Can Hear Your Heartbeat. Chris Rea, 83. I played this really throughout the 80s, like 10 years, 15 years, until I sold my vinyl copy. By then I had got it ripped onto an MP3 and have been able to listening to it from the cloud. Ever since. But listening to it again on vinyl is just something special. Really, really a great experience. What else do we have? Oh, I used to have this. There's a song. This is Real Lives Heartland from '83. I had this on vinyl as well, and I had the maxi version of Catch Me I'm Falling, the extended version. I haven't been able to find it since, but if I find it, I will certainly buy it. Great. It's not a great album per se. It's sort of sounds dated. A lot of the 80s sounds dated now, like 40 years later, but still a great listening experience. And here comes Roxy Music, my favorite Roxy Music album, Avalon, More Than This, and the title song Avalon. This was the last one with before Brian Ferry went on to his releasing his solo stuff, where the first one was Boys and Girls, as I showed earlier. I was pleased to find this one recently in my local vintage record store. Saga's Worlds Apart, the best Saga album in my opinion. Yeah, great one. Wind Him Up. And also The Interview and No Stranger are my favorite ones. This is a great 80s album, and it sounds, to this day, it still sounds good. Doesn't sound really 80s, like, for instance, Real Life, that I just showed before. This one still sounds good. What else do we have? We have, a recent one, because I'm into Ed Sheeran. This one has been released on vinyl. This is on, can I show this? Maybe, no. Well, this is on blue vinyl, on turquoise vinyl. And it has, the essential songs from his, I guess, his first 10, 15 years of releasing music. Ed Sheeran. Yeah, I like him. And this is one I didn't have back then, obviously. Yeah, then a couple of obvious 80s releases that if you find them for good money, I think you should buy them. Bruce Springsteen, a recent purchase. Supertramp with Roger Hudson in the front. The last Supertramp album that had Roger Hudson on it. One of my favorite. This is criticized as well. I don't know why, but Famous Last Words, 83. Or was it 82? I think it was 82, actually. Nevertheless, the last Roger Hudson Supertramp album, and I really enjoy this. It's Raining Again is one of them. Yeah, great album. And then you don't have to always turn to the obvious choice. Toto, one of my all-time favorite bands, found this one for 8-9 euros in good, fairly good condition, not perfect condition, but fairly good condition. I am more into the more deep cuts. This is one example that I really enjoy. And well, I have more Toto albums coming. Just ordered a couple. Then we have this one. I really didn't enjoy it to begin with, so I didn't buy it on CD. I sort of only started listening to it years and years later, when I just could, listen to it on Apple Music on my subscription. But as I become as I'm returning to the vinyl routines, kind of felt I needed to buy this, so I did, and I must say this is a great listening experience as well. This is 180 grams, so only a couple of songs per side, but I enjoy this album. I'm going to dive into more U2 on vinyl. Favorite song here is on this entire album is Ultraviolet, the song Ultraviolet. And then one of the first albums I rebought on vinyl was this one, the Yes 90125, and actually I bought it twice on vinyl because the first copy I got was damaged. Yeah, and I didn't realize that until I couldn't really complain about it anymore. It was weeks later, and so yeah, I had to buy this one again. Thankfully, I found it for less than 10 euros. So this is a must. I am into the Yes Trevor Rabin era. All the old 70s Yes is just too complicated for me to listen to. But this one is so yeah. Trevor Rabin and Yes, and this is a must. This is a really great album. I enjoy listening to the next one as well, the Big Generator. That's really a great album. Also Trevor Rabin era Yes album. They made another one with Trevor Rabin called Talk. I haven't been able to find that, so once I do, I will obviously buy that one as well if it's in good condition and for fairly decent money. I'm not really into paying like hundreds of euros for just because it's on a vinyl and just for sentimental purposes. I buy them to have that listening ritual surrounding it. So if it's too scratchy and if I don't enjoy listening to it, then it's not for me. And I'm not really into anything just because it's on colored vinyl or something like that, or just because many other people enjoy listening to a specific album on vinyl, then I have to have it on vinyl. That's not the way to go for me. It's simply just the albums that I used to enjoy listening to in my youth. If I can find them again for a reasonable price, that's what I do. So this was just to really tell you about my newly refound passion for vinyl. It's something I really enjoy doing with my son, and he's more into sitting down and listening to my music now that it's on vinyl than he would be just if I played something over the wireless speakers. So this is enjoyable. It's really something I can recommend for all fathers my age who used to enjoy music back then. Get a vinyl player, get a record player, and start collecting vinyls. And we'll see where it goes.